Alex Hormozi used this tactic to sell 2.9 million books in 24 hours. And unless you haven't seen much business social media content at all lately, you may not have heard of Alex Hormozi, I suppose. But Alex Hormozi is an experienced serial entrepreneur. He has successfully branded himself as the $100 million man, coming out with 3 books in the last few years related to $100 million offers, and most recently related to $100 million money models. And it is for this last book that he successfully broke a Guinness World Record for selling the most amount of books in 24 hours, outpacing all other non-fiction books. Like all other politicians blew right past them. So how exactly did he do this is part of what we're going to talk about here in this video. And I just want to start by saying, though, like it's easy to look at someone like Alex Hormozi, who has had multiple successes under his belt. And I think part of the reason why people actually see him as being credible and legit is that he doesn't try to sugarcoat a lot of things. And he just talks oftentimes from a place that is real and that is more relatable. And it's easy to look at him and to feel either admiration or, I think, depending on where you're at, not recommended for sure, but a feeling of envy even. But it is in our nature to want to compare ourselves to other people, right? Because it's just, the word ape means to copy, right? So that's a lot of what we're actually doing when we're learning from one another, when we're trying to see what works so that we can gain some sort of an advantage and we can continue to grow, both not just personally, of course, but professionally for the benefit of our businesses. So don't get discouraged by looking at someone like Hormozi, who obviously is doing quite well. But in my view, he has earned that position by just being an excellent marketer and also creating products and services that have provided value to people, as far as I can tell. Me personally, I have gotten value from his books. So getting back to his $100 million third book, Money Models launch, which actually set this Guinness record and outpaced all of his previous book launches. How exactly did he do it? I can't point to one single tactic and tell you, okay, like this was the one thing. I mean, if anything, it's a compounding of many things over time, many factors, obviously a lot of preparation, obviously, putting months and years into building his own personal brand, and years before that of work, actually building businesses and, embodying what it is that he's teaching, like actually doing the hard work, failing a lot, and in order to see like what works and what doesn't, and then being able to give tips, advice, insights confidently coming from that perspective. So with that being said, leading into this event, which was an event, I think I've never seen an event where there were, I think it was at least between 100 to 200,000 people. I think it was around 150,000 around peak, at least on YouTube, in terms of simultaneous people watching. That's the most I have ever seen personally. And I started watching it on I think it was like a Saturday morning around like 11 a.m., something like this. And it was partially mesmerizing because, the guy gets up there and he starts doing his pitch, and we're going to watch a sample of it, right, to illustrate what I'm saying here. Was this one tactic that got him to 2.9 million copies of his new book sold in just 24 hours, breaking and achieving that Guinness World Record. But he gets up there and he starts doing a speech and seems relaxed, seems practiced, seems kind of matter of fact. But what he does within the early minutes, I think it matters more than pretty much anything else in the presentation, because again, like the idea is like, this is the start. This is what people are going to see the most, is what they see up front. Okay. It's similar to like, if you're producing a piece of content, whether it be a blog article, a social media post, a YouTube video, the vast majority of people are going to see some order of magnitude, oftentimes several orders of magnitude. They're going to see just the title and, for example, just the thumbnail. And the intro, for example, is leveraging a similar principle, whether you're dealing with a social media post or a long video like this. Because again, like his pitch was 7 hours long in terms of the recording. So he would, he did his opening, and as I segue into telling you what it is here, I'll start by saying, like, in copywriting, the tried and true formula is to start with talking about the problem. Okay. And it's not exactly that he's doing. It's overlapping a lot, but you start by talking about the problem on, for example, your sales page, your landing page, and then, problem agitate, kind of you stick the knife in when you talk about the problem, because people, we value losses, more than we value gains. And we're just looking at like pain points and discomfort, and we are so biologically programmed to move away from pain, to minimize pain, to want to maximize pleasure and rest and other sorts of dopaminergic, if that's a word, rewards. In talking about the problem, it's capturing your attention more, and the way that he delivers this, as you'll see here in a second, there's an emotional hook once you go into the agitate phase. Okay, you stick the knife in, talk about the problem, and then you twist it. Problem, agitate, and then you start talking about the solution. What is the solution? What is it that you're going to offer? And he does other things. Again, a million other things went into this. But this, early on in the presentation, I noticed within myself watching it, there was just a little bit of like an emotional, like spike, like, okay, like he cares, this guy understands. Okay. And that brings me to defining what it is that he actually did and putting a label on it so that we can tie down this knowledge by labeling it and defining it. So I ask you, and think about this for a second, what is one of the deepest, most fundamental human needs that are out there? I mean, we have multiple, but on an emotional level, on a psychological level, one of the deepest, most foundational, fundamental human needs that we have in our lives is to be understood. We don't want to feel alone. We want to feel heard. We want to feel like someone gets us. That the story that we're telling in our heads, we want to have that validated. And in each of our stories, right, we are the hero. The tactic that he is using is called pacing and leading. Specifically, what we're focused on here is the pacing part of it. Again, kind of like agitate. So problem, agitate before talking about the solution. So let's look at the example, and then we'll analyze further. It just takes, the clip we're going to watch here is about 90 seconds long, but it's in those 90 seconds, I want you to just feel it out, like hear what he's saying. And especially as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, like, what do you feel, right? Do you feel like he's actually saying something that speaks to you, and in terms of like a personal problem or desire, or even something that you felt in the past? Because what I felt and what I observed is just like someone, because there's genuineness to it also. Like you can't fake this and do it as well as he has done here. So it's, genuine delivery of it and genuine deep understanding is where this is also coming from, which is part of why the tone and delivery and everything works, because he's speaking from a place of deep knowledge and research. So again, just to set the stage here, he's about under 10 minutes into the presentation. People are still, kind of coming in. He's doing like a little bit of a recap of, who he is and where everything is at and what they're going to get from today's presentation. And here, right around the 9-minute, 48-second mark, I'll go just a few seconds before that, and we'll listen for about 90 seconds.
Ask, how do we kill one? So that's what we'll cover next. What kills 82% of businesses? So when we ask, how do we kill a business, besides giving up, obviously, there's only one thing. You run out of money. According to a study by US Bank, a source I trust, given they have billions of dollars on the line, 82% of businesses fail due to poor cash flow. Said differently, if you've got no money, you've got no business. You can't even pay annual filing fees to keep your business open without money. So here's something you probably didn't know. What percent of businesses do you think lose money every year? 10%? 15%? 18%? Not even close. Try 3 times that. According to the Federal Reserve, 54% of businesses lose money or break even every year. That means you work 80-hour weeks year-round to miss restful weekends, holidays, school plays, family dinners, birthdays, nights out, all to take on more risk than any person reasonably should, and end up poorer than you started. And it shouldn't be that way. But then you might think, well, the other 46% must be balling. Guess again. Of the 46% that make any money at all, what do you think they're taking home? Well, if you listen to Instagram, you think everyone's a millionaire, obviously. Nope. What about 250 grand a year? 100 grand a year? 74,000 a year? Just the median income of a U.S. household? Nope. According to the 2024 Census Bureau data, the median income listed on tax returns for a business owner is, drumroll please, $48,000 a year. Just a fraction more than San Francisco's minimum wage. All to get sued, stolen from, and called the bad guy for trying to make it on your own. And that's a problem.
That last part really is where he just layers it on. Just like all to get sued, stolen from, and said, you're the bad guy. What is he saying there? He's saying that, again, and he's speaking from personal experience. You know, he's been in business for a while. He doesn't talk about it, but he has been sued, just like, you know, many businesses at some point do have certain, you know, legal things that they go through, whether it's with employees or whatever it might be. And he's speaking and he's positioning, again, he's talking about you. He's talking about you as the listener, as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, you being the hero of your own story, you being the underdog. So there's multiple layers to this. And the other thing that he does exceptionally well is he's doing like a reverse price anchoring. Like he has you sort of guess like, okay, what's the percent of businesses that are actually losing money versus making money? And he starts with, okay, is it 10%, 15%, 18%? Oh no, it's 3 times that, right? And most business owners that have been around for even just a year or two, even if they're just starting out, like you are losing money at first. You need to actually generate cash. You need to create something from nothing. You need to create value from thin air. You need to start getting your business quickly to positive cash flow. But then he compounds the problem even further. And again, he's using data which further backs up the credibility. And he starts by saying, okay, 46% of businesses that are not just break even, mostly losing money. And this all rings true to me, by the way, in terms of like stats that I've seen. Like I've seen that 75% of businesses do not make it to year 10 in terms of existence. I think if we were to measure that more honestly, I think it'd be something more like 95% most likely don't make it to 10 years in business. Not because they were acquired or they go public, certainly not. It's more so because of it's hard to be consistent. It's hard to build an organization that lasts, especially for such a long period of time, but also because that 75% stat, it assumes that 25% are still, you know, operating and making money. In reality, the vast majority of that remaining 25% are just zombie businesses. They're just limping along. They might be making a few sales here and there, or they just might be completely inactive. And that's why, you know, to say 25% of the 75% are still active in business is not exactly accurate, because we're trying to understand, okay, what businesses are still around and at least bringing in cash. Furthermore, what he's doing here in terms of pacing before leading, and the idea of pacing and leading is right, like you show people that fundamentally you understand their problem, that you understand it not just at a factual level, but at an emotional, empathetic level. And his tone of delivery here is absolutely perfect. The numbers support it. And again, he positions you as the hero, as the underdog, where basically it's like you're working so hard, you're not making enough, and that's a problem. So there you have it. Alex Hormozi's tactic that he used here was pacing early on in his presentation, delivered within 90 seconds. And again, it creates just like an emotional bond with the audience, because again, fundamentally as humans, one of our deepest, most fundamental desires is to be understood. And this is one of the critical tactics among many other factors, but one of the critical tactics for why and how Alex Hormozi was able to sell 2.9 million copies of his books in 24 hours. Now, I'd like to share one more bonus thing with you that I think you'll find valuable. So back in the day, we used to sell this info product that I created, which was kind of like a search engine for successful, proven tactics that were A/B tested and which I judged and curated in a packaged form, which we called the Proven Sales Conversion Pack. And we used to sell this for $200. In today's dollars, if you account for inflation, I guess we would probably double the price to around $400 for getting access to this. However, selling info products and courses is no longer our bread and butter. I mean, maybe we'll bring this back at a later date and actually put a price tag on it in terms of, you know, having to spend money for it. But if you enjoyed this video, and by the way, if you want to get more tactics like this in future videos and you just got value in general, I'd love it if you gave the video just a thumbs up organically on its own. But to give you an additional incentive to support our content, I'm willing to send you a free copy of our Proven Sales Conversion Pack. And all you have to do for that is leave a comment just saying tactical. And all you have to do to get access to the Proven Sales Conversion Pack, which gives you over 313 curated case studies that I have personally handpicked and given you my strategic extraction, in terms of interpretation of the different tactics that are going on here and how to actually copy it, how to apply it to your business. You can get free access to this if you just like the video and leave a comment below just telling me, what you thought of the content and what you're looking forward to hearing more about. And just tell me, like, is there a certain problem that I can help you to address in terms of your marketing, your business going forward? So again, all you have to do to get access to this is give a thumbs up and leave a comment. And by the way that the conversion pack works that makes it so valuable and useful is that you can find in this curated database of case studies, there are different ways to discover tactics that can apply to your business. So for example, even if you're not a SaaS business, you can still take tactics that may have worked for a SaaS company and apply it to your business. So for example, you can sort by type of business, you can sort by difficulty level in terms of how long it's estimated to actually implement the tactic that's being highlighted. And you can even sort by the conversion type. Plus, you get my top 20 video collection where I identify for you, like, what are the success patterns that have seemed to be woven across case studies in terms of most reliable, most effective, and most likely to impact your bottom line in terms of more traffic, more leads, more sales, primarily focused on leads and sales. And beyond that, if you would like help executing on your marketing without dealing with the headaches of hiring, our core business, our productized service at Grobo.com is to provide business owners like you who are growing an on-demand marketing fulfillment team for less than the cost of one full-time virtual assistant. You get a team with 13 skill sets. You can delegate easily right through our dashboard or through email. Just saying, like, okay, I want to create some social media content. I want to create blog articles, newsletters, funnels, automations, so much more. Just go check it out, learn more at Grobo.com. And in the description, we have a link to a 33 example PDF that you can get access to immediately. You can see just examples of what you can delegate to your Grobo team. So it's an incredible value. And if that sounds like something that would benefit your business, please go check us out at Grobo.com. Beyond that, I will see you in the comments.